So our putrid player drew this opposition mirror, an item. Special abilities in combat choose 3 new attributes to roll for each fight round. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Each round you pick the attribute as the attacker or as either side or what? Because it also says also usable when attacked by ranged. Wow, that's just weird. Anyway, I'm not sure at all how to interpret that card. I think the attacker gets to choose all 3 attributes, whatever. It sounds incredibly powerful, but I'm just not sure how to apply it in any reasonable sense. So I just turned it in for some metal. Basically, without having encountered that, if I was playing with new people, I would say, geez, I don't know what the hell to do with this thing. You know, it sounds really potent, and it's an infinite use item, so it would be, you know, if it's as powerful as it sounds, which is that you get to pick all the attributes to be used in combat, and you don't have to worry about the adjacency. That sounds way too powerful for what it is as a multi-use item. It really sounds like insta-kills damn near. Anyway, I'll try to figure out what I want to do. I think I'm going to pick something off from red. I think that pick-off worked well. I did a shot here, knocked it out. We got the bomb back here, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this. This guy's a little slow, and he's got a low range. He's only got a 2 hex range. I may have screwed that up at some point. Wouldn't be shocked. So that's in range, really, that I could pick it up with a Horned Hellion. Here's the problem, though. I managed to wipe out his stack of 2 creatures, including the fast unit. I had enough firepower to knock them both out. So basically, if he's throwing himself another unit in to kill a couple of mine, including the Demonic Archer, which would suck, there's no question. Oh, wait, this is medium, isn't it? Yeah, the problem is that goes off at the same time the bomb does. So if this thing moves 1, 2, 3, 4, it can squeeze into there and cause me real problems. I tried to get something in the way, but this Horned Hunch one, which is a powerful creature, with an advantage that he can actually join up with 2 of him in a squad, or a Horned Hellion, which is what these things are. So, you know, imagine 3 of these things in one squad. Wow. Unfortunately, they can't protect the Necromancer directly. They're big creatures. They wouldn't be able to stack with the Necromancer no matter what. But we've got a pile of resources here. And I also built a big chain where I was able to filter my resources up. I had some with the Demon Archer there, and I continue digging as well. Yellow's smarter than I am, whoever was playing him. Essentially, this thing, if it picked up the bomb, couldn't quite get into that particularly special safe place. And the problem now is I did a meditation, which means my Necromancer can't move up. I could move up this unit, one of these units, this Living Cloak of Smoke. There's a reason I want to use this in particular, which is to try and get it away from my main pile, because I drew the nastiest of events that I can think of. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I've got to do this. This is an event. All Necromancers lose control of bribe deck creatures. All revolting creatures are now wandering monsters and must move full movement away from their squads. Who decides that movement? Well, I guess the guy who drew the event. I think that's probably the closest I can come to figuring something like that out from the rules. I haven't really looked it up carefully, but I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that says you rotate this around or anything. And the person who draws the event usually gets certain choices. So I'm guessing they get all choices as to that. Move as far as possible within reasonable rules, you know. they have to move the greatest distance that they can. Well, I've got a couple of available squads at this point, so I could break out these guys who haven't actually done anything and use them. Let's see, this would go 1, 2, 3, and then this other one, I can't move the Necromancer himself because he did something. 1, 2, and that would allow me to at least channel stuff up from the Horned Hellion up to this. And in fact, I can actually, this is just passing it down the line, as it were. I can actually hand off this bomb. This guy's probably doomed. This thing's gonna run away due to the event. I'll take care of the event. I'm gonna have to check all the critters everywhere. I did check in particular the couple that I was most worried about. This thing is not running, and this thing is not running. So yellow's frontline things aren't gonna leave his control and cause a great deal of problems. So this is the best way that I can channel some of the huge amount of resources that I've gathered over you know, from all those deaths piling up here along with the item into something that I at least get to keep. Now I guess we start resolving all those flight dangers of the chaos. Yeah, that's why you don't want to draw from the Abyss deck, I guess. Alright, so several things have moved. Let's look from the first. He's lost a Necromonk down here, and then the unit here fled. This guy got a couple of units over here. Shoddy Abomination and a Rat Man. You know, I mean, those can be easily subdued or bribed back into control if I so desire. Those shouldn't be too big a problem. But over here, this guy lost everything he's got. He's got this one critter, and that's it. The digging things that he had all fled, and you can see they're heading down this deep tunnel. I'm not going to have the ability to dig, and I don't have a terribly great amount of combat ability. I'm also one of the 2 lowest people, so I've got to worry about the diabolical evil bitch coming after me, because I really do not have a strong stack, nor a lot of resources. So this pretty much shafted him. And over here, and yes, I rolled for the Hellswine to see if it would move. No matter what, it was going to defect, but I figure, well, its ability is it has to roll before any time it moves, so that would apply here too. Again, you know, this is similar to games like Talisman. A lot of times these cards require that you have to make some kind of judgment on them, and sometimes the easiest thing to do, like I did with the Mirror, is just say, you know, I can't figure it out right now. Maybe after I've played it a few more times, I'll get a better feel, and I'll kind of house roll it. I saw a whole list, some 24, 44 something questions for the designers that one person came up with after a few plays. And it's kind of like, yeah, you see, there are all these combinations that you have to kind of come to a decision with. And a lot of them, maybe they reflect directly from the rules or can be easily figured out. But a significant number of them seem to be kind of something that, all right, if you got the designer there to answer your question, great. But if you're just playing the game, you probably don't want to throw an email off at that point. And, you know, honestly, usually groups can come to their own agreement as to how to handle things. And they just kind of, you know, through a few playings, come to an understanding of how a game should be played out. We also lost something else here. I think this thing also fled, but I'm not positive. That may have been kicking around already. I guess that's about it. So that's the end of the second player turn. Over to the third. Purple down here had some interesting ideas. First of all, he wanted to get value out of the critters that ran from him. In one case, he killed the critter. He just didn't see it as that valuable. I don't remember what it is. The Rat Men. They're better than the what are they? Shoddy Abominations. But I saw no real advantage to having them, so I just slaughtered them, took the point, some gore left behind that I can pick up, great. The extra point gives me a little extra time in that I'm gonna be later than the guy who gets boned first. And then I'm also gonna work towards building up my mage, or my necromancer, and I did that with picking up this Curse of the Ancient Bloodlust. I'm not gonna cast it, I can't cast it yet because I invoked, but this is a spell that'll permanently give me +6 Bloodlust. Unfortunately, I can only give it to an adjacent creature, so I have to give it to another spellcaster. For example, I still have a Necromonk, but he's busy digging. But I gotta remember to arrange that or find another spellcaster. I've got this shield, which gives me +6 to my armor. I've got this Demon Follower, but it hasn't been cast either, which will give me additional strength. Basically, the idea is I'm gonna boost up my strength with spells and items, and he has this particular ability to carry lots of items, right? 4 items himself. I'm going to make my stack powerful enough that maybe I can beat this 27 across the board. That's a big number for your Necromancer to handle alone. But if anyone can do it, it's this guy. Everyone else is kind of like, shit, that's going to be a possible problem. Except this guy who just is dead. And I did grab the Shoddy Abomination instead of killing him, because there's kind of this thought of, well, I could get a whole pile of those, right? It's really unlikely that I'm going to get enough over the time. And remember, each one I cast moves the timer further and further towards this space. But, well, I just couldn't give them up. Probably a mistake, because these little critters, they're easy to cast, and especially the Shoddies. And, you know, they're not terribly worth having. It's kind of better to kill them off and get the points. I also drew an event initially, a D12 number of gore in the pit. Got kind of lucky. That's a small amount, only 3 of them in there. And it would have kind of sucked if I produced a huge quantity of gore. Although the guy who's closest to controlling that area here has tons and tons of gore already, so he's not too worried. I'm not too worried about him getting that, but somebody else could. Basically, resources are becoming important because you can draw your card and keep it if it's a decent one, and then do a meditation as you try to prepare yourself for this big fight that you know you've got coming. Alright, on to the last player. Poor pathetic guy. Unbeknownst to everybody, this guy actually has an awesome card, which I didn't notice. As I was looking through, I saw, I got something kind of cool. I had a trinket here. There's some spells that are not terribly useful, but I got a trinket creature. That'll help a little bit. But what I didn't notice was this sucker I've got sitting here, Astral Worm. Before any attack, fight only with special against 1 creature in enemy squad. If you're the victor, enemy creature fights with worm for the remainder of the combat and then dies. Okay, well, if I could combine that with my Rotten Magi and other things, get rid of this sucker, get him off the stack, I've got a chance of beating this on that special. Then it'll fight with me for the combat and then die. Since there would be no combat, it would just kill the bitch. So I think I've got a way around it, even from this weakened position. And I like games where you have kind of secret stuff like that, so that's cool. Unfortunately, I also drew from here. I'm going to get a random location added to the world, and that's going to be precious walls, a bunch of metal in that. And that is just one of these, D12, I think, spaces away. So it's going to be only 2 spaces away from my entrance. 1, 2. I'll put it over here. It's getting crowded and cluttered. And what did I say? A D4 metals. Some of the things automatically come with certain materials, so this is going to have a pile of metal in it. And that's it for his turn. But he's got some nice prospects ahead, even if he can't deal with the stuff he's left behind, if he can get those cast in time. And for our first player, what did he do? He marched forward, killed this unit, moved this guy forward. This is his lava maul. This thing is his archer. It moved up here and shot one of his old units just to get it out of the way so that he can get enough pressure to maybe be able to defeat this. He has a desire to control that thing. The problem is that thing has a +10 weapon and a +2 dodge from his abilities, or from his sword that he's carrying. One that I gave him, I cast a shrapnel, or invoked a shrapnel bomb. This I'm intending to give, to the Hell Swine, so that the Hell Swine can go and wipe out a bunch of small critters at once. If, say, Red has a bunch of small critters, and he has a few. It gives me, I think, a 1d4 radius, yeah, that I can blow things up in if I trigger it. So if I can get that in a big guy's hand, I could do a lot of damage, maybe even take out a Necromancer who doesn't think he can be reached. Unlikely, because that thing's not terribly fast, but maybe with a sacrifice of the Archer, something like that can happen where I could end up in that kind of position. I've got a tough job here, because I'm probably not the best guy to wipe out the Darkest Evil bitch. So if anybody else manages, and we've got a couple of people who have chances, I look at this guy as the biggest threat, actually. A couple of people who have chances to beat her. So what I want to do is wipe the players out before it gets too far. Well, there's a problem with that, though. As I start marching through critters, I'm freeing up squads that can then be filled, because we've played long enough that more creatures can come. And then the time passes more quickly, so it's more likely we're going to see her come up and be fully activated before I can wipe everybody out. What I'd love to do is have some way of jumping in and performing an attack. One of those many... Let's see, we had somebody who had a teleport ability, this guy. He used it up. But one of those abilities, actually, the answers that the developers gave, or the producers, I'm not sure what the status is here. I think the guys who put out the second edition are using a game and the rights from it from a prior edition, and that they really loved it and wanted to rework it, but didn't have enough time to fully do so. So they more or less put out something that's equivalent to the original, except with maybe you know, some better components and whatnot. But anyway, their answer to this, and how much that can be, you know, trusted if they're not the original designer, right, is that, hey, it seemed to imply that you can teleport a whole stack. That's not how this is worded to my view. So, you know, again, I tend to limit powers as much as possible when it's not specified. So if it doesn't say may teleport whole squad of stuff, I view it as he can teleport his stuff. Like if he's carrying stuff, I got no problem. But if it doesn't say he's carrying things, I don't really view his teleport ability as something that extends to the rest of the squad. And indeed, what that means then is you need an extra squad to break off the units that you're leaving behind. Anyway, that's just how I'm taking it. Other people will interpret it differently, but that's kind of a key point here, is that the interpretation of all the cards, a lot of it's left up and fairly open. And how much, you know, do you trust any particular interpretation? House rules. Anyway, so I'm proceeding along those lines. I broke into here and got some garbage, some metal, which isn't really going to help me. And I've got a limited number of extra squads. I think I've got one squad free. I kind of don't want to... I have a creature I could summon. I could have summoned or invoked instead of the shrapnel bomb. That would have been able to carry the bomb. I couldn't do both. I didn't have enough resources for that. So no big help there. Basically, I'm looking at trying to use what's already on the board so I don't speed up this process. Although speeding it up might be nice, because it might end up if it happens quickly enough, killing everyone before they're fully prepared for it. So it's this hard balancing act, but this looks like it's a long way away. So I don't know which is which is more valuable, but I'm going for what I can see rather than analyzing it too much. I just do the analysis vocally. Oh boy, another one of those that was mentioned in the questions and answers here. A Mind Chanter. Very weak critter by stats. However, its ability is tremendous. On a player's turn, it can chant to enemy squad to kill itself. Now, what was clarified there was it can do this multiple times. Okay. In one player turn. Entire enemy squad roll against self. Huh? What? What does that mean? I guess one side of the squad is rolling for survival and one for death? I'm not sure. I guess so. Chanted 2 space range, including through unevacuated areas. But I need the black fire, and I would rather not deal with something so problematic if I can avoid it. So, concentration by the red player on getting and preserving his resources. I would have loved to get this living cloak. I really do want that. But instead, I'm running away from this monster here. I could have run up and blown it up, but I had a lot of resources sitting over on my Wisp. And I've transferred those over, and I've also managed to transfer this over. By capturing that Necromonk, he then moved out of there up to there, and on his way, while he was in this space, he transferred some goods. Now I have a danger, which is that I'm next to this, and we've got some events in place. The first one is Summoning Spawn, where we're going to draw a random summoning card and put it in the throne room nearest my necromancer, which is this one. And then we've got this obscene romance where monsters are going to move towards each other, joining legally wherever possible. So the wandering monsters are going to try to do something. Alright, let's see what we get with the summoning. Okay, we got something kind of safe here in terms of a critter, or in terms of an item instead of a critter. It's a bomb. Destroys everything 1 space radius, but every time you move you make a roll, and I guess that's a 4. I have real trouble with this bomb. The bomb will explode. So just carrying that thing's dangerous, but if you got a quick thing like I had that 6 movement guy who's not terribly strong, wow, that's a way to just fly into places, and he could have carried that through rocks even, just 1 space per turn there, but that could have been very valuable. The problem with red is he doesn't have a clear strategy right now for how to win the game. He's busily trying to save himself against yellow and not really succeeding in preparing himself for the evil bitch. Such is life. But he didn't do any successful summons there, or invocation of creatures, or whatever you want to call it. Now I got to look at all the wandering monsters. Alright, the question is, do people stop me? This isn't a monster, so that's not a problem. I've got this thing. Well, all the monsters are that way, so it's going to move that way. 1, 2, 3, I guess. But now that means I'm going to lose that. That's going to be captured by someone else. Let's look at these. These guys are kind of close. I think even the movement of monsters is going to be stopped by enemy critters, but I'm not sure. I have to look to see if there's any indication of that. Flipped through and couldn't find anything. Obviously, some of the other event movement, at least in terms of, trying to figure out what's going on, it makes sense. If you're running away from their squad, well, if you move 1 space away, you should be able to keep moving. This feels different somehow. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm going to give it that same fluidity. What is G? G has a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means G and C are now legally stacked. And that makes this a more potent combination here. I think that's a G. Alright, and we got other critters here, which I'm going to run as deep as I can. That's not very far. And then to here, oh no, this looks like G. Alright, well, we'll leave them on top of that. Nope, they can't legally stack. But they can get right close to each other. And I think that's all the monsters I have on the board right now. Alright. Batteries are running low and I don't want to be on a tether, so I'm going to take a little break before I go on to the purple player. We'll get rid of this. Quick point to note is that this guy's combined is really dangerous for the Necromancer. It could be the end of the game there, because the first thing he has to do is attack it straight up with whatever he's got on him. He can cast spells in combat, and he can use his items, but that's it. He can't bring other units into play. Now, I think that's okay, because I think this thing was back here, and this one was back here, and they just kind of ran together. If this guy was back here and ran by one, then we got a problem, but I don't think that was the case. So, why is it not a big deal? Well, it's not a big deal because they would have been in position to flank him anyway, and they would have both been fighting him. Except he has the no flanking chain. Oh, crap. So my decision on that rule may have doomed that Necromancer unfairly. Ah, well. Purple rushes most of its squads up for an attempt to play for this gore here. I don't know how much they terribly need it, but they're short on that particular resource, and have some kind of fast critters, and their demon thing that nobody can approach. Well, that maybe half the critters can approach, who may be able to pick that up, or at least create a shell that'll make it difficult for me to be attacked as that's being picked up. There's a danger right now, but at least I'm in position where I can get it next turn and actually move back this far with this Unit 3 here is a very fast little guy. Not that little. Meanwhile, I moved my Necromonks up into position, handed them a couple of spells. Oops, I only had one Necromonk. Crap. I cheated. Alright, I'm going to bury a card. I guess I had to cast a spell with my Sorcerer, which means I didn't move my Necromonks at all. I was doing a meditation with my Sorcerer. I'll have to reshuffle those. So anyway, I boosted up my stats. You can see I've got an 18 and a 17 there with a couple of the spells I have. That's getting me along the way. I don't know if it's good enough, because 27 is a very, very large number. And I've got 3 of them now. I've got this critter with me, and I maybe could find something else in its place. This guy looks very potent comparatively, and he's medium sized, so I'd like to get him into place. That's group 4. Probably move that back and swap out my Decapitator for that. I still have the problem, though, that this, not that I know this, but that this guy actually has what looks like a solution that has a 50-50 chance of succeeding in the lowest kill ratio, so he's going to go first shot. This guy's got a bunch of cards that actually, items and such not, and critters that he can actually manage to stack with himself. He's got this interesting collection here. Something that lets him carry a lot of items. Something that allows him to carry an extra medium or 2 extra smalls. A spell, which he can cast at the time of combat to reduce the attributes of that thing when he faces it. Just in case he misses the 50-50, right? The Shriek, which is that. He's got a whole pile of this he does not want to cast on himself. And then potentially one of these critters. This one gives him another shot at a kill by fighting the creature first. It's got this ability, before any attack, fight only with special against one creature in an enemy squad. If you're the victor, the enemy will fight with you. Yeah, that's like this other one, right? I had another ability. Oh no, this was the ability I'm talking about. So this is the guy I want with my squad, but I've got maybe room for an additional unit with the bone, or a couple of smalls with the bone cart. And I've got some desires to try to get the resources to cast all this crap that I need. But instead I moved here, and I'm going to cast a quick excavation, try to get some more resources. Yeah, that's... I got to reshuffle that. Let's see what we get. We get a normal tunnel. We'll be grabbing the resources, hopefully. Well, it turns out Yellow was not in as dire a straits as I thought. His Necromancer is more powerful than the thing he was facing. He managed to defeat it. If the fight had started to look close, and it actually was, he won the first 2 rounds, actually, even though the monster had an advantage in one of them. He would have this, where I think he could use this mind control on the wandering monster. It says an enemy. Again, I think you've got to kind of play the game and try to guess what the cards actually can be used for and what they can't at any given time. Alright, now he's got to make his decision of what he's going to do forward. And I had made a decision that he wanted some gore. I'd already drawn this and decided to keep it because it's an item that adds to values. Unfortunately, it's not a trinket. That would have been useful. And now we're looking at trying to grab the trinket creature and position ourselves so we're not too much risk from this thing blowing us up. I think I can get a shot off with the demon. He's got humongous range with his 4 speed and 6 hex range with the weapon. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can actually shoot this if I make a pathway for him. He continued picking on and destruction of Red's pieces here. Of course, Purple has attained full strength, and Gray here is hidden behind so many blocks. It's definitely easier to dig through this way than to try to get them where most of my critters are. Alright, no events or anything. We started digging with our necromonks up here. Is there anything I could have picked up? Yeah. Let's hand off some gore. I can't pick up this sword with necromonks any more than I can with my necromancer. And what did my necromancer do? I think he meditated to try to grab more items. I invoked a bunch of stuff, a couple of critters, some armor. They got this shadow armor on top of a critter. I did them both at the same time, or the armor first, or whatever, so that nobody knows what I've got here. Is that legitimate? I don't know, because, you know, people could be cheating in terms of casting the spell, but I'm not too worried about that in the games that I play, and this is the only way that something could actually be hidden. Otherwise, all actions are kind of open, so, you know, it's that hidden trackable information problem. I also cast this huge murder giant who's got this ability to spend gore to up his one weak stat, or his weakest stat. He's got huge stats everywhere else. It's too bad I can't have him in my group with my necromancer. Then I would just have to kind of stay alive. But I'm worried about a lot of things. I'm worried about the possibility of my crystal being attacked. There's potent stuff coming at me. Potent enough to take my crystal out. So I'm kind of in that forced to defend. The problem for Yellow, though, is they don't have enough time, not with these summonings, to kill off Red and then turn and kill off Purple, and certainly not dig their way through to Gray. Their only real hope is Gray looks very weak. They kind of wish they could swing against Purple next, and they may actually do so. Simply for the matter of, even though Red may seem a little bit more powerful, although I'd actually say they're about equal at this point. Can he carry this? No, anyone can carry it. These are the only big guys can use it. Okay. Even though they're about equal size, I'm less worried about what this guy can do in terms of surviving that creature. And you can't use your special ability in the end game. Also, this guy's got a nasty special ability. This guy does not. This guy has one that can steal one of my squads and turn it against me. And, you know, probably fight this thing to a standstill. So, yellow is going to be considering in this direction. Of course, both purple and gray think they've got a shot at defeating the evil bitch if they can survive the attack by a player. Gray's solution is to hide. Purple's, well, they don't have one yet. They got a bunch of critters. Little thing I forgot to mention, I split my necromonks up for the simple reason that one of them went and grabbed this dangerous bomb. He had to make a roll to see if he survived it. Every turn he's got a 1 in 4 chance that that thing will just blow up, and you don't want anything near you when it does, because it destroys everything. Resources, everything. That's a nasty kind of bomb, and this is kind of his big threat. Again, another reason not to go in that direction. I know he's got that, and he might get it off if I get too close. Red's kind of hiding here. I can't hide everywhere. There's going to be a line of sight somewhere, although the gate's going to block some of it. But there's a line of sight at least from here across here. I think the gate will block from anywhere down this tunnel. But if you can get out to here, I can start firing. But that's not my necromancer. That's this big monster. And he's going to be tough to kill using at least just the demon. If I could get 2 firepower on him, but the terrain's tough to get around with where I am to get that much firepower. The necromonks I can kill pretty easily though. Swing around the tail end of things without much happening. Just a little repositioning, trying to draw for stuff here. The monk's still digging. Getting resources back in this direction. The monks have a pile on them, but I've been meditating and such not to try to get the best hand for the final. And this guy's got even a worse situation. Nothing else to do. So he's got a lot of cards in his hand that'll do it, but he needs a big price. So he's been drawing things. Got this humongous bloated worm. Not a tremendous, pretty good fighter, but not tremendous. But its big thing is it turns into, it blocks the tunnel where it is if it dies. So you have to dig your way through its body. Ew. He did pick up something that might be interesting and he might want to cast, although it kind of diverts from everything he wants to do. He's probably better off grabbing the trinket creature to grab those resources. He's got these dark hunters. They can do some digging, but I don't know how much time there's going to be. The problem is, if nobody casts things, there's going to be a lot of time. You know, these only move 1 per turn if nobody's casting, and I am playing with that option where they don't move if somebody casts, so it may not move much more than that. This guy threw a bunch of crap out there, but that for his defense, but I don't know how likely a big swath of critters is going to be in the near future, given what people are doing. They want the best hand they can to face the bitch. The problem, of course, is if this guy starts moving his threat this way, he's got real problems, and he's got to defend himself then. I have some more problematic cards. Let's see. I started off with the yellow guy. Now, I did a meditation here, and my monks are digging away. Nothing exciting there. These others, I moved my 2 firepower units into place, shot the shoddy abominations and got rid of them. You can see their bodies are lying there. And then I moved my big horned hunch one up to help protect this guy. I'm not sure how much of an importance that is. 2 and 5. Oh shit. I killed the wrong thing. Okay, let's get those shoddy abominations back. This thing would have died too. I had tremendous firepower there. Not going to worry about it too much. I got to find the other one. Okay, let's make that. This one's dead. Okay. So I killed that critter. We got a couple of shoddy abominations then in 2. And 5 is really hard for me to read some of these. You can barely see them. Is this necrotic devil. And I couldn't have moved this close. Oh, crap. Alright, we'll be back here. I couldn't have shot from there. Son of a bitch. Alright, well, that's what I mean about having to pay attention to everything in the game, right? I don't know what to do. I don't want to go back and try to undo things. There's a degree to which you just can't keep doing that. Anyway, what's problematic, other than my ability to pay attention, is this Altar of Appeasement. Now, its special ability is create 2 flame resources at the cost of a turn. What's a turn? Is that a whole player turn? You spend your player turn to do that? That's the only assumption I can have, and that makes this an incredibly weak card. I guess every now and then you would say, geez, I'm willing to sacrifice my entire turn for 2. And in particular, maybe if you're next to a wandering monster and you think somebody else will attack it, by sacrificing your turn that way, you could avoid being killed. So that would, or losing something important. So that would actually be a valuable usage that seems kind of ludicrous, but that would be the results of sacrificing a turn. The other side would be, what if this critter just didn't move? Well, that should say that should be worded differently. It should be as an action without movement. You know, basically, there's not the kind of rigor that was taken, say, with the original Magic decks. And certainly, they've gotten better since then. But it leaves me with the kind of, and that's one of my major complaints against the game, is it leaves me with this kind of, all right, I'm going to have to make up a lot of how to deal with these cards in the moment. Now, if I'm playing the game, I'm going to have a vested interest in how that's going to turn out. And obviously, you can take it to a die roll or whatever, but then you still don't end up with some kind of rational balancing of all the cards, etc. What you end up with is kind of a, and maybe that's just not there, but you end up with kind of a mishmash decision making across the whole thing. Again, that happened to me with Talisman, and every now and then a card comes up that I don't know, that I haven't come up with my house rule for. But, you know, if I'm playing with new people who've played Talisman before, just like if I'm playing with new people who've played this before, new to me, but not new to the game, they're going to come in with their own house rules and their own assumptions. Then we go through the whole process again, where there's going to be a conflict with any grouping. So this is one of those games like Talisman that's best played with your same group. Never, you know, you can bring new people in who've never seen the game before, but it's not a great idea to like break this out and play it with people that have played it that you've never played with before. The other aspect, and I knew this would be coming, is the, Jesus, I don't have the brain to keep track of what's in all these stacks and what all their strengths are and everything, and you need all that information to make rational decisions. And in fact, you need all that information to prevent yourself from cheating like I just did in some cases. Here had a few clever activities. First of all, he grabbed all kinds of items with his murder giant. Charged up, surviving, with the Necromonk carrying the bomb. He's running his way up, trying to be a real threat, and he really is one, actually. And possibly one going all the way up here to the crystal or whatever, if these guys press on this way. That puts yellow in a really ugly position where his big power is here, and he's going to have to spawn some crap to defend against guys running up with bombs if they happen to survive the whole distance. The other Necromonk moved up into adjacent to that, and we had a meditation otherwise. And they swapped, and I finally got the Black Iron Sledge into his hands. Now the question is, do I want to do any digging here particularly? The sledge is really good at digging, but I don't think I can dig into... First of all, chances are I won't be able to successfully... Well, you know what? I might as well do it, because there's no real harm to it. What I was going to say is I don't really think I want to dig with the Necromonk, because it's going to take a while to do so at this point. He's got his own big bomb So I'm gonna be, you know, moving 2 bombs forward. His doesn't. This one doesn't have a risk, but it kills medium and large. And then this guy, well, he's got instant excavations. So I'm going to excavate this hex, and we'll see what happens there. And I get this Crooked Hall of Dread. That's going to give me a card furthest from the excavators. Alright, so I'm going to do 2 things here. And I usually don't like having to come over here to look, but we got to see if we can get this in play, and we can. It'll fit. It won't fit there, but it will fit like this. Alright, there's nothing really far from the excavators though. Let's see what we get. We got some resources. No, it's a card. It's going to be a summoning card. And we found us a trinket item. Carrying squad cannot be revealed. No, that's not what it says, is it? Yeah, even during combat. I think that means the whole squad is hidden. I don't know, because squads aren't normally hidden. Wherever this shows up, and I would say it can show up at any of them, I can stumble into. I'm going to stumble back this way towards my necromancer. Not sure that's the best place. But anyway, that squad's now covered by this trinket item. I don't know what good it does me. But I can't really hand it off to anyone except the necromancer. And he's already got the shadow armor in his stack. And it's known that it's the necromancer because of this. Now the shadow armor is kind of a shame to have on this critter, because this critter is actually fast. If I gave the shadow armor to the necromancer, it adds 1 to his speed. It adds 1 to either one's speed, but then they'd both be speed 4 and I would have a little bit more movement. It doesn't matter much while I'm meditating though, and everybody knows what my necromancer is, so it doesn't make much difference what I got there. Alright, onward. We're on purple here. The shoddies ran up, grabbed that, ran back. I'm not too worried about them dying. To tell you the truth, they're just not doing me much good. If somebody wants to waste an action to kill shoddy abominations, all for it, because honestly they're just taking up one of my squads and I might need them. I pulled back this powerful insectoid fungaloid with its spiked shin guards, wow, to join my necromancer, and had to do a little dancing to get the thing that was in there out. But basically what happens was what was in here created its own squad, moved here. The other thing moved into my stack, and then this moves here. You're allowed to do that kind of crap because you've got a lot of flexibility in the movement. And of course the necromonks kept going. I did a meditation action trying to look for more little toys to add to my strength. Right now it's pretty cool though. You can look here, I've got 23, 27 on weapon, if I want to go on that route. Down here at plus this, which makes 39, here's 25. That's almost as big as that thing. And then the final one, the armor's not so good. Over here, if I had thought, I would have weighted things over this way because I had that ability, but I've got some higher strength, some higher stats over here too. So if I look at this, I've got 34, 26, 22. So that side is actually better. I don't have to do it one side or the other, but the way the cards fall, that's often a good idea. This might also be decent here with that huge number, a 25, which is pretty high, and then a 22. I'm not up there though. I need more. I need more stats. I have a +6 to armor too. That's 18, 26 there. So basically I've distributed my stats too well in terms of being complementary. So someone else attacking me is going to have a hard time. But when I face something where I am the attacker, and I guess that's the case when you're facing the big baddie, it's not absolutely clear because I think it says it attacks, but monsters normally don't get to choose their attack ability, I don't think. Blinding spell, -3 strength, dodge, and armor. Ooh, I didn't count on that. So you cannot be attacked by any squad other than the Necromancer squad. So I think it is essentially attacking. It just says it combats it, it doesn't attack. So I think the player is still the attacker in the normal sense of things. They have the option of which stats to target. But those big -3s in there further hinder my chances right now. I need more. I got a lot of time to make it though. And finishing this round, and I believe the videotape, I ended up casting these Dark Hunters and starting to dig with them. Main reason? Well, the other thing I would want to do is meditate, in which case I would never get the resources here nor the resources here. So if I'm going to start invoking critters, I invoked a couple. I got myself my trinket as well. And that pushed me up. Oh, I hope I did it right. I think I only moved it one. Let's push in a second one for the trinket. Anyway, that gives me a position where now I can attack this and start collecting gore. I need gore badly. This sucker is going to be tough to kill though. And if I move next to him, I'm going to have to fight him. So what am I looking at here? I'm looking at around 16, 22. He's got a weekend over here. I think I can get him. 12, 24, 26 against this. And then over here, 7, 19. That's even. But it looks like I have huge advantages on 2. So I think I can bust through the ghoul and then the next turn hit the Ogre Lord, collect up some piles of gore. I'm having trouble collecting gore and I really need it for the cards that I have. And eventually I think I'll be up in the range where maybe I need to be. I have one more critter to cast though, and a wagon. I just need the gore for that. And I think I've got a pretty good chance against the darkest evil bitch. Love the names in this. Something like that should be in Munchkin or Wizwar. I'm not sure. But you know, most of the others are not quite so. It's like the ship that sails over both land and sea from Moorcock, right? Alright. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I don't know if we're gonna be able to finish the game in the next one. I doubt it, because things are moving kind of slowly. But I think we do see a situation where there's another kind of stalemate forming. There's just always this drive towards stalemate in the multiplayer game. Now, we know there's an end, because there's this and that. It's just, there's a lot of time to prepare for it, a lot of time to do stuff, and a reasonable amount of time if you want it to knock some people out. Is this character looking more dangerous? Not really. The numbers just don't add up yet, but given time they will, and that's what this guy's got to worry about, because he's got so many damn points. He can't force her to attack him first in any sense of the way. There's no way he can make other people get the kind of points he has. And what that kind of means is it looks like everyone has a better chance than him just because of the time limit situation. That's something he's going to have to keep in mind. I know these people know it already. The question is, how much does he really realize that he's got no chance if he doesn't wipe people out?